I know you'll be wondering how the changes to international students program pathway to Canada affect you. Does it affect you? Do you consider continuing with your application, or do you just look for another pathway? Or what does this mean? Please, I need to find answers. If you're in this category of people, or you are in this particular mess I just talked about, kindly watch to the end of this video so you will get clarity on your next step and what. Hello, amazing people. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sophia, aka NnukwuAda. I'm a content creator based in Canada, and on my channel, I talk about the tips and tricks on how to migrate to Canada through the various different pathways that are available. Well, I know you guys are excited to see me. It's been a while. Yeah, I took like a 2 weeks break, which I felt was necessary because I was kind of overwhelmed with work, school, family, and lots of stuff. So that break was actually needed. But guess what? I am back and back for good. So on today's channel, I'm going to be talking about new changes and updates that were made to the international pathway to Canada. We all know that there have been lots of changes within this period. Today they'll say this, tomorrow they'll say this, and next tomorrow they'll say another thing. So recently, on January 22nd, 2024 of this year, the government of Canada announced 3 major changes to the international students program. So I'm going to summarize everything into 3 categories. Like, I watch other people's video online and I heard other people say lots of stuff, and then when they're listing out these changes or whatever they are saying, they make it to be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But to be honest with you, it was just 3 major things that the government announced, and then every other little point were under each of these points. Do you understand? So it was like a 3 major points that they mentioned and everything they talked about it. So not to bore you guys, I'll be going directly into these changes that were made and giving you guys the breakdown, what it means and how it affects prospective students wanting to study in Canada in 2024 and beyond. For let me tell you guys that this cap doesn't impact students that are studying masters, PhD or K-12 level or current study permit holders. So if you're already in Canada, this doesn't apply to you. If you want to study masters or PhD, or maybe you're like before your pre-secondary and all those K to 12 level or current stuff, it doesn't affect you. Actually, it is just for people coming into Canada as college or diploma students. That is the people that this affects. And also, I would love to put this disclaimer before moving forward that I am not a licensed immigration agent. I am not affiliated, or neither do I represent the government of Canada, or do I work with the government of Canada. I am just a content creator that puts out informations that I come across on the net that I feel would be useful to 1 or 2 persons out there. Yes, so that being said, I'm going to continue. So there are 3 new changes that prospective international students need to be aware of before you apply, especially if you're coming through, if you're applying to colleges in Canada. You need to be aware of this, because first things you need to know, one is that students now require an attestation letter effective immediately. Students must provide a provincial attestation letter as part of the study permit applications. Applications missing any attestation letter will be returned to the applicant. So this is one of the major points. So what it means that if you're applying, for instance, to a college in Ontario, you need to apply for an attestation letter from the government or the provincial government of that province you're applying to. So you're going to send it to like the minister or whatever that that represents that province, like the head of authority in that province. You have to apply to them to get this attestation letter, which you would now submit together with your study permit application and everything. So if you send in your application without this attestation letter, it means that your application will be returned back to you. So it is actually compulsory. And just so you know, they haven't started issuing this attestation letter just because each provinces requested that they need time to start the whole documentation and understand how to give out this attestation letter, what this attestation letter requires and everything. So it will start officially by March 31st. That is when these attestation letters will start being issued to people. So you need to start now to start arranging your document, doing the necessary things. So once you get it, you can start submitting your application, just because you know that there is a cap for applications now. Second thing you need to know is that Masters, PH, K2 to 12 students do not need to provide any attestation letter. Each province is expected to set an attestation letter process by March 31st, which I mentioned earlier. So if you're applying for a master's course, a PhD course, a K to 12 level of education, you don't need an attestation letter. It just applies to people applying to colleges. Those are the people that need the attestation letter, so it's not for everybody. So secondly, changes to the postgraduate work permit program starting September 1st 2024. International students who begin a study program that is part of a curriculum licensing arrangement, also known as a public-private partnership institution, will no longer be eligible for postgraduate work permit upon graduation. What does this mean? This implies that some schools, private schools, actually partner with public schools to provide like certification and get their licensing, just because they can't get the licensing on their own, so they have to partner with this public school. So take for instance now, maybe a public school like Fanshawe or Sheridan, and then one normal school like Mohawk or Trio or something like that partners with Sheridan, which is a public school, to get their licensing and get people to study there. You will not be eligible for a postgraduate work permit. So that means you have to go back to your drawing board. Now, it's not for you to go checking for cheap schools. It's one thing to have a cheap school, it's one thing to that processes that are involved now. It's not about the school being cheap. That's what I'm trying to say. You need to find out if this school is a partnership with a public school. So you need to know if the school you're applying to is a public or a private public partnership. I don't know if that makes sense to you. These are the things you need to find out before sending in your applications. So many schools, I heard that so many schools now are going to be closed down. So many students at the end of them studying are not going to get their postgraduate work permit. Why? Because the schools are not public schools. So find out, do your research, and ask very well before shooting in your application, just so you don't waste money, waste your time, effort, and everything for it to be heartbreaking. So however, there is also a good news to graduates of masters, other short graduate level programs, and other short level programs. But at least very soon you'll be eligible to apply for a 2 years postgraduate work permit. So formally those with masters and studying masters, PhD and all that, they were not able to get their postgraduate work permit. So this means that very soon the government of Canada would announce a date whereby those studying masters, PhD would start getting their 2 years postgraduate work permit. And I hope that you also know that coming to study in colleges, diploma students and all that, you cannot bring your spouse again to Canada. It was also announced in this. It is only those studying masters, PhD, law, science, I think medicine, and that those are the people that are eligible to come with their partner to Canada on a spouse's work permit. These are also changes that were applied and announced also. Though your graduation as an international student, you won't be assured of your postgraduate work permit. Before, once you're done with study, you just get the automatic 3 years postgraduate work permit. So now currently you have to apply for it, just like the way you apply for your study permit. So once you apply for it and you are eligible to get it, fine and good, you'll be able to be provided, they would provide you with your postgraduate work permit. So it is not an automatic postgraduate work permit after study again. You need to apply for it just like your study permit, and you either get approved or you don't get approved. So with all these changes, you need to go back to your drawing board and find out if really you want to go through this pathway. I'm not going to give you any advice, because he who wears the shoe knows where it's paining him or knows how it fits. There's an adage like that from where I come from. So you need to go back to your drawing board, check even with the increments in the proof of funds amount. Now diploma students are not assured of postgraduate work permit after graduation, and then so many other changes. No spousal work permit for your spouse if you're coming in to college to study in colleges in Canada. There is no guaranteed spousal work permit for your spouse. So these are the different changes that are happening now. So you need to see which of the pathways suits you well and favor you well. So this is all I'll be taking on today's video. I just had to do this video because lots of people have been asking me, and the truth is that I cannot answer everybody and the questions they ask. So I hope this video explains all your questions and gives you the answers you're looking for. I know that if you've watched to the end of this video, I know you have subscribing, joining my amazing family of followers. Until next time, I will see you again. Goodbye.